Getsystem, named pipes and token duplication. Let's first talk about a few related concepts which will be useful when understanding getsystem. Access tokens are special objects in Windows which store a user's identity and privileges. There are two types of access token. A primary access token is created when the user logs in and is bound to the current user session. When a user starts a new process, their primary access token is copied and attached to the new process, meaning that the process is running with that user's privileges. There's also an impersonation access token, which is created when a process or thread needs to temporarily run with the security context of another user. Windows allows processes and threads to duplicate their access tokens. An impersonation access token can be duplicated into a primary access token this way. If we can inject into a process, we can use this functionality to duplicate the access token of the process and spawn a separate process with the same privileges. You may be already familiar with the concept of a pipe in Windows and Linux. In this instance, this pipe is taking the output of the system info command and providing it as the input to the find string command. A named pipe is an extension of this concept. A process can create a named pipe, and other processes can open the named pipe to read or write data from or to it. The process which created the named pipe can impersonate the security context of a process which connects to the named pipe. Now let's talk about getsystem. The getsystem command in Metasploit's Meterpreter shell has an almost mythical status. By running this simple command, our privileges are almost magically elevated to that of the system user. But what does it actually do? The source code for the getsystem command can be found at the URL displayed on the screen. There are three files worth looking through: elevate.c, namedpipe.c, and tokendupe.c. There are three techniques getsystem can use to get system. The elevate.c file contains a couple of functions that getsystem uses. The first simply tries to determine the architecture of the system we are running on. This function, however, is the one which actually performs the privilege escalation techniques. If you don't specify a particular technique, it will run them all in this order until one succeeds or they all fail. The first technique is known as named pipe impersonation in memory/admin. This technique creates a named pipe which is controlled by Meterpreter. It then creates a service running a system which runs a command that interacts directly with the named pipe. Meterpreter then impersonates the connected process to get an impersonation access token, which has the system security context. The access token is then assigned to all subsequent Meterpreter threads, meaning that they too will run with system privileges. The second technique is very similar. The only difference is a DLL is actually written to the disk, and a service is created which runs the DLL as system. It's the DLL that connects to the named pipe. The namedpipe.c file contains functions which relate to both the named pipe techniques. This first function creates a named pipe and impersonates the first process that connects to it. This function is used by the first named pipe technique. Note that the comment here specifies that local admin permissions are required. This is because the technique has to create a service which runs as system. Note that on Windows Vista and Windows 7 and above, the Meterpreter process will need to be elevated via UAC first. This function is used by the second named pipe technique. Again, note that the comment specifies that local admin permissions are required. Again, because this technique has to create a service which runs as system. The same restrictions for Vista and Windows 7 and above apply. The third technique uses token duplication. This technique requires the SE debug privilege. It finds a service running as system which it injects a DLL into. The DLL duplicates the access token of the service and assigns it to an interpreter. Currently, however, this only works on x86 architectures. However, this is the only technique that does not have to create a service, and it operates entirely in memory, using reflective DLL injection. The tokendup.c file contains functions which relate to the token duplication technique. This function injects the DLL into a service and uses it to duplicate a system access token. Note that while the comment suggests that local admin permissions are required, the only requirement here is that our user has the SE debug privilege and can also inject into a system process. On Vista, Windows Server 2008, and Windows 7 and above, an elevated admin process is required. This technique also only works on x86 architectures, meaning it is not very useful in modern systems. In summary, getsystem was designed as a tool to escalate privileges from a local admin to system. The named pipe techniques require local admin permissions. The token duplication technique only technically requires the SE debug privilege, but is also limited to x86 architectures. So getsystem should not be thought of as a user-to-admin privilege escalation method in any modern system.